Today we're going to talk about the egg, not this egg. About cracking an egg, not this egg. About your egg, the egg that is formed around you to protect you. Most senior leaders I work with are exhausted. And it's not because of the workload, it's because they're carrying a weight of a personality they didn't actually choose. They're living inside a shell of conditioning, behaviours and beliefs they adopted decades ago just to survive. And now that shell is starting to crack. Today I'm going to show you why that cracking is actually the best thing that could happen to you, and how to finally step into the more that you've been sensing beneath the surface. I'll offer you a practical 3-second gap practice to increase your awareness of the shell and then crack it. Hi, I'm Pietro Pazzi, a leadership depth coach with 3 decades of leadership experience. We tend to think of self-improvement as adding things, more skills, more discipline, more polish. But in my experience, real transformation is an act of subtraction. The big misunderstanding is that we are our history. We think our limitations, the way we react under pressure, our hesitation to speak up, our need to control are fixed traits. They aren't. They're just habits stored in our basal ganglia, the brain's autopilot engine. Most people spend their whole lives defending a version of themselves that was formed before they were even old enough to vote. My perspective is different because I didn't just study this. I had to break out of the version of myself that was literally preventing me from speaking. We all start with a shell. At least a shell is developed. Think of it as our conditioned identity. It's a set of rules you learned about how to be successful or safe. For some, it's being the smartest person in the room. For others, it's the people pleaser. As a leader, your shell becomes your ceiling eventually. If your identity is the person who always has the answer, you will eventually stifle the innovation of your entire team. You aren't being effective, you're being conditioned. In Psychosynthesis, we call these subpersonalities, little parts of us that take the steering wheel. One part of you wants to lead with vision. The other part, the one that's being afraid of being judged, is actually the one making the decisions. You think you're in control, but you're often just a passenger in a car driven by your 10-year-old self's fears. The moment you try to step outside that shell, your brain screams. It feels like a threat because to your nervous system, different equals dangerous. I know this intimately because I grew up with a stutter. For years, my shell was silence. I was safe. If I didn't speak, I couldn't fail. People couldn't judge me. People wouldn't laugh at me. But in my early 20s, I realized that if I stayed inside that shell, I would die with my potential still locked inside. Now imagine that, living life incomplete. So I did something that felt like social suicide at the time. I started moonlighting, selling vacuum cleaners, door to door. Believe it or not. Imagine that. A guy who can't get out a full sentence knocking on strangers' doors to give a pitch. It was brutal. My amygdala, the brain smoke alarm, was going off constantly. But every time I knocked, the shell grew a little thinner. I wasn't fixing a stutter. I was expanding my identity. I was proving to my nervous system that I was more than a person who stuttered. I was a person who could choose to speak, even when it was hard. Short interruption, I have a gift for you. I have several resources that I've made available to you that have worked for me, have worked for my clients, and they are available for you on my website under the resources section. There you'll find 2 planners, significant planners, 32-page odd planners on the leadership journey. And the other is manifestation planner. I have 3 assessments. One is about self-awareness, where you act in terms of self-awareness. The 6 leadership capabilities and competencies, or anchors as I call them. And then the wheel of life. Then there is a whole bunch of guided visualizations that I've done, audio recordings that you can download, and a couple of guides. Introduce you to several tools, like working at the inner level, your operating system. And then I have infographics page, and there I continue to load the infographics that prove to be popular in the other platforms where I load them, loaded with insights and information, that things I've learned over the years. All available for you on my website. Go get them. Back to the video. Real leadership requires what I call bifocal vision. This is the ability to see 2 things at once. One, who you are today, with all your patterns and limitations, and who you are becoming. That emerging part of you. Most leaders are stuck in the unifocal vision. They only see the current reality, the KPIs, the stress, the reactive habits. But when you develop self-awareness, you create a gap between the stimulus and your response. Research into implementation intentions shows that when we consciously plan for how we will respond to a trigger, we move the decision making from the reactive part of the brain to the prefrontal cortex, the executive part of the brain. This means you aren't just a victim of your condition, you become the architect. When you feel that old urge to micromanage or to stay silent in the board meeting, you can pause and ask, is this the shell or is this me? So what can you do with this today? I want you to try a practice called observe and label. The next time you're in a high pressure meeting and you feel that old familiar tightening in your chest or that urge to react defensively, stop. Just stop. Observe the sensation. Don't judge it. Just notice it. Label the shell. Say to yourself, aha, there's my protector part, or there's my stutterer part. Be curious about it. Explore what that part is protecting. Then, without rejecting that part, choose the more. Ask yourself, what does the leader I am becoming need right now? By labeling the reaction, you disidentify from it. You realize that you have these feelings and sensations, but that you are not these feelings or these sensations. That 3-second gap is where your freedom lives. In the end, breaking through the shell isn't about becoming a perfected version of yourself. It's about returning to what was already there. My first business went under years ago, and I remember the sensation of the floor no longer being solid. I thought I had failed. But looking back, it wasn't a failure of me. It was a failure of a tidy line of progress I've been told great people had to follow. You're not your success. You're not your failure. And you are certainly not the conditioning you inherited. You are the more that exists beneath it all. And when you lead from that place, the place that is deeper than identity, you don't just achieve more, you become more. And that is when you start to change the world around you. If this resonates, if you feel like you're ready to look beneath the performance polish and do the deeper work of leadership, I'd love to walk that walk with you and help you navigate that transition. I'd love you to subscribe, because on this channel, we'll explore leadership, identity, inner work, transition, and what it means to live and lead from more depth. Head over to pietropazzi.com and explore how leadership depth coaching can help you integrate your true potential. While you're there, book a complimentary 30-minute exploratory chat with me. There's no pitch, just a conversation to see if we're the right fit to help you break through your own shell. Both links are also in the description below. I'll see you in the next movie.